And welcome, Minister, to the House. And I'm delighted, on behalf of the Labour Group, to propose this motion in defence of the employment rights of special needs assistants. And before I do so, I just want to acknowledge the attendance in the gallery this afternoon of members of Impact and some of the special needs assistants that they represent, and represent very ably and with distinction. It mightn't be well known to many members of this House. In fact, it mightn't be well known to many members of the Irish public in general that Impact have balloted for industrial action out of a complete frustration with the actions of the, or inactions, should be said, of the Department of Education. I think most people would agree that when a profession such as special needs assistants are forced to ballot for industrial action, that something has gone seriously wrong. SNAs are dedicated to the welfare of the students that they work with. Anybody who has ever come across an SNA in any school in Ireland knows that that is their primary concern. So when it comes to a situation that the union that represents over 8,000 special needs assistants feels it has to ballot for industrial action, and then when 97% of those SNAs agree that industrial action is the route that they feel and is necessary to pursue, then something is quite seriously wrong. Now, I myself have some history with this issue. Many people in the Labour Party have. I would have initiated an Oireachtas Committee report on the role of the SNA in the last Oireachtas that was completed by then Senator Mary Moran and published in January of 2016. I recall a number of years ago having a public meeting in my own constituency on the issue, and the public meeting was stuffed out the door with people just willing to tell their story. And what always comes back, and happened again this afternoon at our briefing for all members of the Oireachtas, and I want to thank members of the Oireachtas for attending to hear the stories of SNAs, it is never, ever, ever about money. It is never, ever, ever about money when it comes to special needs assistants. Fundamentally, Minister, what they are asking for is respect. Now, we could spend hours talking about the respect or disrespect that special needs assistants get within the walls of the schools in which they work in. Any SNA will tell you stories that they have heard themselves or witnessed themselves about menial tasks that they've been asked to undertake, about the fact that they're referred to by their first name while every other adult in the school is referred to by their second name, a basic lack of value placed upon them as professionals in an educational setting. But we're not here to talk about that. We're also not here to talk about the numbers of SNAs in the system, which have been obviously increased in the last government and again increased by this government. That's to be welcomed, but that's not the point. The point is the way that SNAs themselves are treated by the Department of Education. And fundamentally, it comes down to the timing of the allocations that are done. Now, Minister, I know in the last week and earlier this month, it was relayed to Impact that situation will change, and from May of next year the allocations will be known, and so SNAs can actually plan for September in future, and that is to be welcomed. But it is very late in the game for SNAs to know that, and it is very, very disappointing that they had to ballot for industrial action before they got such clarification from your department. There are still a huge number of outlining issues when it comes to this current situation with special needs assistants. You mentioned in your counter-motion the fact that a review is being undertaken by the Special Counsel for Special Education in relation to the role of the SNA. Impact informed us this afternoon that they have no role, no involvement, no engagement in that review whatever. And I think it's quite staggering that if the department is to pretend that the SNA is respected, that the body that represents the vast, vast bulk of SNAs has no involvement in this review. Now, you can suggest to me that that's not the case. Well then, if that's not the case, why would senior members of Impact be stating it so categorically in an open forum this afternoon? There are things that were raised this afternoon, Minister, which quite frankly really shocked me and I thought I knew this issue inside out. Issues such as SNAs at second level, the month of June, being asked to be on-site doing fundamentally menial tasks. Gardening was mentioned, painting was mentioned, just being on-site for the month of June was mentioned at second level. And I think that's something that, to be honest, anybody would find quite reprehensible from an employment rights perspective. No Board of Management representation. Everybody else in an educational setting would have representation on the Board of Management. The parents would have representation on the Board of Management. The patron would have representation on the Board of Management, but not the special needs assistants. No involvement in the care plan for individual students. So the students that are under their care, the students that they have been assigned to help during the day, when a care plan is put together by the school, the SNA is not involved in that care plan. It comes back again to the issue of respect. Now, I know, Minister, you're not going to want to micromanage every single school and the way every single school or school principal deals with an individual SNA or group of SNAs in their school, but the leadership in education does come from the top, and I would suggest that that leadership at the moment is sorely lacking. Issue also, a small issue, it might be suggested, but again it comes down to basic respect. Bereavement leave. You're a teacher, bereavement leave is 5 days. You're an SNA, bereavement leave is 3 days. All these small things add up to fundamentally, in our education system, SNAs believing that they are not respected, that they don't have security of work, that they can't plan for the future, and that every June, in second level, obviously I've mentioned the fact that in June they can be assigned menial tasks, but every June in primary or in secondary school, planning for the future, being able to look forward to September with some kind of security of tenure. Up until now, SNAs thinking, well, I'm not sure if I'll be back in this school in September. Should I go off and apply for another job? Well, maybe no, I shouldn't, because I might still retain this job. And all that insecurity around bills that everybody has to pay, mortgage payments, etc. So fundamentally, Minister, what we're asking you to do is to change this entire attitude that the Department has in relation to special needs assistants, to acknowledge them as a vital component of our educational system, to acknowledge the fact that the over 10,000 special needs assistants that we have, approaching 14,000 at this stage, are vital in the roles that they have. They are not an add-on to the system. They are not a luxury. They are not, as I say, a kind of an add-on to a system. They need to be clearly defined. They need to be given the respect and value that at this stage they deserve. And I think it is only fitting that the report, as compiled by former Senator Mary Moran, will be at the top of any review mechanism that is in place. So we have a few fundamental questions. I know it is the way of things that you put down a counter-motion, and you've spoken in your counter-motion about the number of SNAs that have been allocated, and that's fine, and that's to be welcomed. But it is the employment rights, it is the value placed on those individual SNAs is what we are talking to today. And again, it doesn't come down to money. It doesn't come down to the salary expectation or the wage expectation that any SNA has. Whenever I have a discussion, or any of my Labour colleagues ever have a discussion with a special needs assistant, money is never raised. It is always, always, always about the respect that they are given from within the school and from without the school from the department. So, fundamentally, Minister, we are asking you to expand on what you have said in your counter-motion in relation to the review. Are you actually going to engage with the practitioners and the representatives in compiling that review? I do find it incredibly frustrating when dealing with the department that there always seems to be a review, there always seems to be a committee, there always seems to be a paper written by somebody else, and your own department seem unwilling or unable to make a definite decision outside of another body compiling a report. I mean, there are many issues in the areas of education that we feel in the Labour group that the government are falling down upon. We have the ongoing issue of pay discrimination at primary and second level teachers, which was raised again with me today, which again noises from government aren't helping. We know that there are school communities around the country. Even the phone call today I got from Councillor Mark Wall in Kildare about St Paul's Secondary School in Monasterevin and their lack of certainty as to where their school building is, Minister. All these issues that are coming down the tracks in terms of education. And what we get from the department are action plan after action plan after action plan, yet when a very, very good piece of work is compiled by an Oireachtas Committee on Education in this House, it seems to be sitting on the shelf now for almost 2 years, there is inaction when it comes to a cross-party, bipartisan approach to the future of the SNA. So, Minister, let's get beyond the numbers of SNAs that have been allocated by your department, because that has been acknowledged. We want to fundamentally deal with the issue of respect, to ensure that we have value for the special needs assistants in the system, and to engage with them and their representatives in any review that you are undertaking as Minister. We will be calling a vote on our motion, Cahirlig. We are sticking with our motion as laid down. We reject the counter-motion, and we want support from all corners of this House in supporting our motion.